Hello, this is Maralyn Burstein. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Now I'm going to discuss readings for romance. This is one of the most important subjects of any client. It's probably the top one subject that everybody wants, because the person that you're most in love with, that you're fixated on, is important to you. And if you botch up your reading of their character, you could be stuck with a situation in hell that you can't get out of. And if you go to a Western astrologer for such a reading, you're not going to get any information at all that's going to help you. So, you want somebody like me who's going to use different astrologies and charts in different astrologies to give you an exact description of your beloved and of you and the things you look for. You might not know this, but the Navamsha chart, the Vedic chart for marriage, is an extraordinary diagram. In it, the client's beloved, ideal beloved, is described. The kind of person that the client picks over and over and over again, even if they're picking evil, crazy, messed up people, it will be shown in the Navamsha chart. So I've done readings for a bunch of clients where I say, oh, you pick psychopaths, huh? You like people that are really evil, really mean to you, and you do it over and over and over again. And the client goes, oh my God, thank you, because that's what they've done. So by finding that pattern and giving it to them, they feel better. So if you can have a setup where in a Vedic chart, the Navamsha chart, which is a chart of marriage, the client is set up to pick really bad choices. If the client understands that and the pattern is described fully, and they know, they go back to their past and they go, oh yeah, I've done it like 5 times. I've picked a psychopath just like that every single time. Then that person has a choice. But to some extent, the person that they pick is who they desire. It may not be the person that's suitable for them, but that's the person that they desire over and over and over again. So when you give the client daylight on this, it really helps them a lot, because they don't feel that they're in a random situation. They feel like this was some karmic for them. This was something that they backed into because their karma set them up for it. They somehow picked it. This cheers them up. So anyway, and if the chart of the person they're interested in fits this pattern of not a very good person, then I tell them that. So they have the choice of what are they going to do with that choice. You know, the idea in astrology is to give the client free will, because when the second you were born, the planets in the sky and the charts describing your birth were written down. Everything about you was written down. Your life was prefigured. It was written down. It was meant to be. Your character is written down in the planets in the sky that were above you. And the charts that describe that birth are exact. You just have to find the right astrology to describe it. That's the extraordinary thing about astrology. If you find the right astrology and you find the right techniques, what was written about you can be found. And you're meant to have it if you can find the astrologer that gives it to you. And if you don't, you're never going to get it. So anyway, so with romance, some people are set up to have a bad romantic situation for their whole life. So they can choose to compensate for that. And what I do for you is I give you the patterns so you have free will. But if you pick somebody who looks evil, looks very, very compromised, very evil, very weak, very nasty, then you want somebody like me to tell you that, don't you? And that's one of my specialties, is trying to see if somebody is flawed ethically. I'm pretty interested in that subject. I've done a lot of readings for people where I knew they were a psychopath, and I met with them anyway because I wanted to see if I was right. And I said to them things like, they say you have an anger issue, don't they, to the client whose chart showed they were a psychopath. And that person said, yes, yes. And I said, they've offered you medicine for your anger, haven't they? And that client said, yes. I mean, I've just done a lot of readings for people who I felt were evil because I wanted to see if the books that describe these patterns were accurate. I'm not going to just memorize a bunch of rules from a manuscript and call it a day. I'm testing everything. I've tested everything I use. So the things I use are the things that stood the test of time. They stood my experiments. I didn't just memorize things like if I wrote. Anyway, psychopaths are a subject of mine. And so anyway, if you're looking to get married, you want to know if your beloved has a tendency to be poor their whole life. If they're going to make business decisions that are going to drag you down to hell. Or if they have yogas for wealth. If they're really a bright object, if they're going to be famous, are they really accomplished? You want to know that because you don't want to marry somebody that lacks bling. I certainly wouldn't want to. So anyway, this is what you come to somebody like me to give you. You also want to know if the time ahead you have something coming up between the two of you that's going to be bad. You know, like, are you going into the loss of all your money? Or are you going into a period where one of the people is going to get sick? Or you also want to know if the person you're interested in is physically weak. I met a very brilliant woman from India called Gayatri Vasudev, who is a very famous Vedic astrologer. And her brother gave away his things when he was 30 years old. And he told his father, B.V. Raman, and Gayatri that he was going to die immediately. And they thought that was ridiculous. Well, he proceeded to die when he said he was going to die. So Gayatri has this whole thing in marriage charts. And I've taken her seminar. It was really quite eye-opening. She has a whole thing about tell the client if they're looking to marry somebody, if that person is physically frail. Because it's important. You don't want to marry somebody who's going to get sick, who's very, very compromised physically. She considers this one of the most significant things for marriage comparison. So anyway, I'm just bringing this up. These are the kind of things that may or may not be important to you. Or their ability to, if you're very wealthy, their ability to make wealth or not make wealth is important. Or if they have an anger issue, if they have rage in their chart that cannot be gainsaid, you want to know. So anyway, I think comparisons for romance are probably one of the most important readings I do for anybody. And I love doing them. I would and also you want also the timings for both parties. If one of the beloveds is going into a period of poverty and the other person is going into a period of where they're going to make a huge amount of money, that's significant. I'm going to tell you that. You will find when I do readings for you that I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pat you on the head and sugarcoat things for you, but I'm not going to freak you out either. I try to be level-headed and just give what the charts say. But if you come to me and you really want to know, if you want to get married, you really want the information, and I'm going to give it to you according to my best ethics. So And you'll notice, and I'm using different astrologies for your whole reading of your potential mate. Also, when you get married, you want somebody like me to pick the time you get married. Because if you have very good charts, but if you get married in a catastrophic time, it's the kiss of death. You know, like if you get married on a full moon, or you get married on an eclipse, or you get married in a really bad chart that's so bad that it'll make my hair stand on end, you should know that. You want me to pick the chart of when you get married. You want me to pick the time of your whatever festivities you have connected to that marriage. You want me to do that, because what's the point of me doing the comparison if then you don't carry out the marriage with a decent timing chart? Timing charts are very significant. Anyway, these are some of the considerations for romantic comparisons. Thank you for listening to this YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think. I look forward to hearing from you.